the future of growth.
Hello everyone, welcome to another enlightening episode of Future of Growth, a special podcast series where we uncover the dynamic facets of Tamil Nadu's economic landscape. In today's episode, we are thrilled to host Deborah Thiagarajan, the director of Dakshin Chitra. A trailblazer in the realm of cultural preservation and promotion, Madam Deborah brings a wealth of expertise and passion to the discussion. Our focus today is on harnessing the potential of a creative economy. Join us as we explore the intersection of art, heritage, and economic growth, delving into Dakshin Chitra's unique role, showcasing the diverse cultural tapestry of South India. Get ready for an engaging conversation that unveils the transformative power of creative economy, its impact on communities, and the visionary initiatives shaping Tamil Nadu's cultural landscape. Hello, ma'am. As the director of Dakshin Chitra, you've been a driving force behind showcasing South India's diverse arts and crafts. How do you see the role of cultural heritage in contributing to a creative economy in Tamil Nadu?
Well, arts have many components, and I think the challenge for cities today is how do we attract talent and how do we retain talent? Because that's very important for the economic development. And I think it's here that arts have a tremendous role to play because they incentivize people in a creative way, and they also have something for their leisure and their experiences. Because now today people have more income and more leisure, and they're looking for special things to do. So I think that's very important for a creative economy.
As you had mentioned, the Madras Craft Foundation's mission is to exhibit, promote, and preserve diverse cultures. So how can initiatives like Dakshin Chitra contribute to the growth of a creative economy in the state?
Well, when you know your heritage, then you can go inside yourself and be creative. Because if you don't have examples of your heritage that you can access, then people will tend to grasp for things outside, and that is never creative, because you have to go within your own traditions in order to be creative and to bring that up into a contemporary time. So I think museums are very important for that aspect, because they do incentivize creativity.
On the subject of museums, what is the current global trend? How do you see these new museums that are emerging everywhere?
Well, we're in a museum era. And now, how did this happen? About a little more than 20 years ago in Bilbao, Spain. Bilbao is a small manufacturing town in Spain, and it was losing a lot of money. So a very creative government there contracted with the Guggenheim Museum in New York to put up an iconic museum in Bilbao. And they Guggenheim employed Frank Gehry, who did this amazing museum. It's all of titanium, and the railroad runs right through this museum. Well, it was such a success that it created hotels, it created restaurants, it created so many jobs for people in manufacture and boutiques, and it turned the city around. And I think that was a wake-up call for countries to say, gee, museums can contribute a great deal. And if you look at Qatar, if you look at Saudi, if you look at Singapore, China, so many other countries, they've spent a fortune on museums because they want to attract people. They know that the arts are what attracts people to a city. And particularly these countries have a lot of expat employees, but even Tamil Nadu and all, the more artistic activities we have, the more renowned the state will be, and the more we will attract people, because that's very important, actually. So museums are playing a big role. India is just now on the cusp of a museum era. They're starting a lot of museums. They have a lot to think about. There's a lot of challenges in keeping a museum creative, and that's something that India has to tackle.
Museum era, that's very interesting. How does Tamil Nadu, which is known for its rich cultural tapestry, leverage its cultural heritage to attract investments and promote creative industries?
Well, Tamil Nadu does have a very creative, intellectually and visually creative population. And I think these have to be supported and enabled, because there are a lot of young people who are interested in pursuing the arts as a career. Now, Tamil Nadu has, we're well known for the Margali Festival, which is Carnatic music and Bharatanatyam. But Tamil Nadu also has a major presence in bands, in rap, in rock, and they've gone into a lot of contemporary arts. And Tamil Nadu also has a potential for festivals besides the Margali Festival. Of course, with the Margali Festival, so many of our artists do go abroad, and they are ambassadors for Tamil Nadu. But we also have a nascent photo biennale, the Chennai Photo Biennale. We're the only city that has a major festival of photography. And I think if that is supported, it can be a big draw for people because we are the only ones doing photography. And photography is a very hot subject now. And we also have a rich folk performing arts culture. And if you look at, countries like Russia, New Zealand, many other countries, they all use their folk performing artists as ambassadors when they have any diplomatic mission. And our folk performing artists have to be supported. They have to be exposed. And I think training platforms is very critical. And if even companies that are going abroad have their manufacturing abroad, they can bring our arts around the world. I think TVS is now trying to do that. They're in 6 countries, and I think they're going to bring in Tamil Nadu's folk arts and many of their arts to these countries where they do manufacturing. So there's a great possibility. Tamil Nadu needs an enabling platform, which I think they will do. They certainly have given an enabling platform to Dakshina Chitra, and that has helped tremendously. Dakshina Chitra is mainly supported by corporates, which means that corporates are, interested in the arts. So when Tamil Nadu is looking for investments, people will definitely look at the arts. So I think we have a great base, and I think it will help a lot in economic development.
Ma'am, from your experience of having created something monumental like Dakshin Chitra, what has the support been from the state government for initiative like yours?
I've had a very good experience with the Tamil Nadu government. They've been very supportive. Of course, they've given us the land, and without land, we would not be here. We could not. We hunted, and the land is a very important contribution. And also, they have never interfered with us. They have enabled us to grow. They have, they've supported us when we go and meet the officers and things. They support us. They are aware of what we're doing, and it's been a very good experience, I would say. They've never interfered, and they've enabled us, and that is what a government should be doing.
Ma'am, I think you'll be the right person to answer this question. I'm just curious, is there anything from the visual art forms or any art forms from Tamil Nadu that has kind of traveled across the globe in these recent centuries?
Well, Tamil Nadu has always thought globally, and they, of course, went through over the seas to Indonesia, to Cambodia. They brought Hinduism wherever they went, and their merchants went and took the culture there. And of course, temple building and architecture, they've been phenomenally brilliant with the technology, as well as the arts, the sculptures that go on the temples. And if you want to take it, well, even in the past, the poetry, the Sangam poetry from 1st century BC to 2nd, 3rd century AD is as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. It's just very beautiful love poetry. And if you want to come more contemporarily, in the 1800s, chintz, kalamkari, the floral designs, the stylized floral designs, you'll see on garments today in every country. It has persisted for over 200 years, 300 years. And of course, the iconic contribution of Tamil Nadu is Madras checks. So that has conquered the world in the 50s, 60s. Checks and stripes have always been the forte of Tamil Nadu textiles. That's why we have so much garment export, and people reference the checks and the stripes, and that's Tamil Nadu's contribution globally. We have many contributions. I won't talk about the IT, there's so much. Even IT is all very creative. You need a creative mind to be able to work into a new field, and that Tamil Nadu has in abundance.
Collaboration becomes key for any industry to thrive. Now, when it comes to creative economies, they often thrive on collaborations between artists, businesses, and the community. So, how does Dakshin Chitra facilitate such collaborations to support the creative ecosystem in Tamil Nadu?
Well, we work with a lot of collaborations. We look for like-minded NGOs that are interested in either climate change or the arts in any way, because we can provide a platform for them. We've been very happy to collaborate with some of the companies in Tamil Nadu. We're just putting up a house now that is completely funded by the Hyundai Mobis Foundation, and the Ford Motor Company has helped us. So many of the companies are helping us, and it gives them publicity also. And these collaborations are very important, and they should not just be local collaborations, but they should be collaborations around the world. We've had exhibitions in Sweden, in Canada, where we bring the culture out, and I think these collaborations are very important.
See, Tamil Nadu, again, ma'am, is a hub for non-traditional art forms also. So, how does the state or how do organizations tap this huge potential that is there in the non-traditional art forms?
Well, I give the example of South Korea. After the Korean War, when Korea was not very developed, the government decided that they would set up 100 design schools. So they enabled design to take place, and that's why you have South Korea as one of the leading design countries. So I think if a government looks creatively, they can enable all kinds of arts, because, culture is always evolving. So people don't want to just be in the past. And it's very important that new arts come to the fore. Fashion is something that Tamil Nadu is very interested in. I think it's not just, design is also manufacturing design. There's so many areas to design which are very important.
What kind of role do you see technology playing in the conservation of traditional arts?
Well, if I look at what museums are doing around the world with technology still for museums is a bit, first of all, it's very, very expensive. And so it needs support. And it also needs people from the tech companies to say, okay, let's see how we can help museums. Let's see how we can bring technology to the arts. Because I think that's very important. We certainly have been looking at what we can do. And I think, I think that's the future, actually. But at the moment, it's a little gimmicky. So we have to wait until we can afford it, until it becomes something that is very basic. But we're still using technology. And as far as contemporary art and traditional arts, we have 2 contemporary art galleries at Dakshin Chitra. And people who would normally not come to a gallery in a city would be a little intimidated by it. They all come here, and we have walkthroughs. And I think this is one way of incentivizing creativity, because kids particularly, they see that there's a different way of looking at the world through art. And I think it's a very important exposure. Citizens have to get more exposure, and that is happening.
Now, Dakshin Chitra is often described as a living museum. Could you elaborate a little more on how the museum actively engages the public in experiencing and preserving the cultural heritage of South India?
Well, when we opened Dakshin Chitra, we asked the public, we had a survey, what do people want? And they said, we want experiences. We want to be engaged. So then we thought, okay, what can we do? So from that time onwards, we've had about 20 activities that anyone in the public can do when they come. And mainly children do it, but they've been very successful. And then our main stakeholders, besides kids, of course, are performing artists, folk performing artists, and craftspeople. So we bring in the folk performing artists every week, and that is for us also to give them a platform so that they continue with their arts. And then we have a craft bazaar and craft shop. And our craftspeople are real craftspeople, and they also conduct workshops, and we do special events and special programs. We have seminars, we have talks, online talks, we do all kinds of activities. When we list out all the activities, it's a huge number. And we have a very committed staff. And it takes a bit of organizing to make sure everything happens, but it does.
Ma'am, I think the Dakshin Chitra Museum was opened to public in 1996. Over the years, how have you seen the perception and appreciation of arts and crafts evolve? And circling it back to creative economy, how does this play in shaping a creative economy?
Well, when we opened, it took us 8 years before we could break even, because people thought, oh, museum, who wants to go to a museum? It's not for us, And so we had to break through that barrier of people's thinking. Now, I don't know if you'll see, but we've been getting 2,000-3,000 visitors a day during the holiday season, and we get over 250,000 visitors a year, and it's growing. So I think the appreciation has certainly increased. I think that more and more people know about the arts than before. And I have to give credit for the malls also, because they are, an exhibition gallery really of shops. And all that helps to expose citizens to the arts and aesthetics. And of course, then Dakshin Chitra takes them back to their heritage, to their roots, to their identity. And I think that because we're getting so many visitors, particularly a lot of young families, that they feel it's important, that they should know their culture, because when you live in an apartment in the city, how do you access your culture really? And so it's been quite popular and growing, and I think that has to do with the growing interest in creativity and the creative arts and heritage of the population. I think that's very important, actually.
Ma'am, I'm just curious on one point. Are museums a very urban syndrome, especially in the context of a state like Tamil Nadu, where every district has its own heritage, arts, artists? So how do you see Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 towns, thinking of their own museums?
It does. In fact, Tamil Nadu, the State Archaeology Department, ASI, they all have museums. And I think there are over 20 museums in Tamil Nadu. And they're in the districts. And also there's a push to get local populations to look around them to see what are the arts and what is the history of that area. And so you'll find that that's happening everywhere in schools and in small towns. And small towns are bringing in the same events that we do. And I think that you'll see that the creative economy is spreading throughout the state. And I think that is a very important fact. In fact, villages tend to have more time. They're less distracted than the city kids are, so that they have more time to engage in things like this, which is important. I think that the government has to give an enabling platform to people. I think we're still, we still have a lot to evolve into, and I think that exposure and training will bring up the professional level a lot. And I think you'll find that kids in the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities have a lot of ideas, and they would be very interested in participating in the arts. And I think that would be very beneficial to Tamil Nadu and to Tamil Nadu's economy. Because just think, the arts bring in jobs, They create a particular environment for people. And we haven't even talked about how do you access villages, because now we even take kids out to the villages to show what's happening in the village. What are the arts they have in the villages? What are the activities that they do? How do they do agriculture? All that is also part of a creative economy. And so I think that is happening more. And you'll find that there are small enclaves of very committed individuals who are working with local people to develop their arts, whether it's in marionettes and puppetry or Lambani embroidery. There's a lot of things happening in the state, but they're low key. So we don't necessarily, they're not going to make headlines in the newspaper, but they're still very much ongoing. And that's very encouraging, actually.
Ma'am, there is a general perception about museums, that is that it is meant for foreigners or expats. But there is a changing scenario on domestic tourism. So in your experience, especially now that you mentioned about young couples coming, what do you have to say about, the potential of exploring domestic tourism and, creative economy?
Tourism is a very important point. But domestic tourism in India is huge. It's much bigger than foreign tourism. And when we started, everybody said, oh, you're doing this for the foreign population. So no, we're not. We're doing it for Indians. It's an Indian museum. And it's true that 94% of our visitors are Indian, of which 50% are from Tamil Nadu, and the balance are from outside of Tamil Nadu and other Indian states.
As we come to the conclusion of our conversation, ma'am, like always, I ask, do you have a message that you want to share with our listeners, especially speaking on the aspects of harnessing the potential of creative economy?
Well, I think the arts is one of the major aspects of a creative economy and of growing a creative economy, whether it's in manufacturing, in investment, whatever it is. People have to think creatively. Now, how do they get the experience to think creatively unless they have, as they've grown up, been able to interact in creative environments? So the arts are very, very important.
Ma'am, thank you very much for joining us on this special podcast series for Global Investors Meet. I think it was an astounding conversation we had about the various forms of arts and the importance of, preserving arts and how, there is great potential in creative economy for a state like Tamil Nadu. Thank you, listeners, for joining us once again on Future of Growth, the special podcast series for the Global Investors Meet. Stay tuned for more engaging discussions with industry leaders. So until next time, this is Yarni signing off on Future of Growth.
The future of growth.